All right, today's guest is Colleen Biggs, an entrepreneur, a mother, a podcast host, an author, an award-winning business coach. I mean, all of it.
I should have said I'm a first-degree black belt, too, and I didn't even bring that up.
Yes.
Because look who I'm sitting in the presence
out.
with. Are you kidding me? Sure, yeah.
It's fun.
But that's the best part. We can be whatever we want to be, right?
We can. And we have to remind ourselves and that next generation, like the sky's the limit.
It really is, and you just got to align the people around you like you have with your teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of great when you know that your inner world is like your outer world's a reflection of your inner world. And so I was like, wait, what?
I know.
I can create whatever I want. I think when I realized that for the first time, it was like I had so much power to be able to do what I want to do. It's kind of like your story, right?
Yeah, no,
You
I
just
think
made
for
the
me,
decision.
that car accident just made me realize everybody's opinion that I care about is going to be in the grave very close to when I'm going to be in the grave. So why am I letting them dictate who I am? And that just opened the floodgates of, well, let's figure out who I am if I didn't have you define it for me or culture define it for me. And when I said, okay, I'm going to climb a mountain, I didn't sleep in a tent, but I'm like, I'm going to figure it out. I don't care. I'm going to show you that I can do whatever it is I desire. And so I picked the randomest thing and here we are.
Mine was the last breakup I had before. I was a single mom for a long time and I kept wanting relationships to work. And I think it was because I wanted this like normal family life for my kids, and I kept pushing relationships that weren't working. I finally just got to a point in my life where I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm done with other people telling me who I'm supposed to be and that I'm not being a good mother when they don't even have any kids. And I'm tired of the labels. And it was that way at work too. I was just tired of everyone saying that I'm one thing, but internally I felt like I was something different. That was the turning point for me. Somewhere around 2008, I was done with it. I decided I have got to do something different. We're in the middle of a big recession at that time. There was so much pressure on me at work because I was in the franchise business. I had hundreds of franchisees launching brand new businesses in a time when it was like everything was so great and you can make a lot of money and we have performers and projections, and then everything just went in the tank. And so it was like, now what do we do? I'm grateful for those moments in my life where things went really wrong. I never would have learned about negotiations and commercial real estate and how you can negotiate contracts for a win-win on both sides. That exposure helped me years into the next couple decades of my career. Times when you think are the worst times, like your accident.
Yes.
Become our best times. And then when I was like, that's it, I'm just going to be me no matter what. And I'll never be something I'm not, and people can take it or leave it. But just giving myself permission. Yeah, finally do what I want. I attracted this amazing man in my life. We've been married for 15 years. We combined our family. We have 7 kids. We just had our 13th grandchild a few months ago.
Oh.
My life is so blessed and amazing with love and children, the love of a child. How would you not love that, right?
Yes. Yeah, you get it. You have 7, I have 7.
Right.
Every one of them is a gift and their own little personalities and their way of doing life. It's so fun to watch and support you.
Yeah. So I've just been saying yes ever since. I do say no more than I thought I would, meaning things that don't align with me and people want you to do it. There was that time when I'd be like, sure. And I'm like, why am I doing this? When my husband and I started getting more into growing his business, looking at other businesses, our daughter-in-law brought a business to us that she wanted to buy. We started looking at all these different concepts and opportunities out there that we never saw before. Right. Okay, we never saw them before. They were always there. We started saying yes to like, you know what, we're going to do this. We don't necessarily have it all figured out, but we're going to figure it out and we're going to do it together. It's been a blessing to go into business with family, but it's also been a blessing to have these opportunities just start coming to us and people saying like, hey, we trust you and we would like you to buy our business. I never would have thought I would have been sitting here in this seat. Yeah. Right. I mean, even here with you, right? Like we met because of the path that I was on and had conversations, and then I randomly see you on talk shows. I just love it that we can stay connected and we create this circle of people that are good in our lives that fuel our success. When I watch you, it fuels me to want to do more. And I think that's the important thing we need to remember.
I think so much of our journey is about the people we connect with and allow ourselves to say yes to ourselves. I use this analogy with my children a lot, where you can be the lighthouse or the tugboat, but you can't be both. The problem with being a tugboat, which is going to try to rescue somebody or bring somebody into shore, is now you don't have somebody shining the light.
Man, I was a tugboat for a lot of years.
I was a tugboat forever. And so finally when I learned, like, okay, if I'm the lighthouse, whoever's supposed to come to my shore is going to follow that light in. And I just need to keep shining my light, stand in that space, and trust that the people will come.
Yeah.
And it's just learning. Like, once that one person comes, you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of a space before that first person comes, because they're like, are you really shining your light?
I'm so glad you said that, because we live in a society where instant gratification, and you said it takes a little bit to stand in your light. And I think people want things to happen overnight. So they're like, well, I'm out here doing this thing. Why aren't clients just falling at my feet? Why is this just not happening? It takes time for you to build up that momentum for people to see you, and you have to be consistent. It's why I wrote my book that we were talking about earlier. And it's about stepping into the spotlight. Nobody knows you exist if you don't tell them. Nobody knows what you're doing if you don't tell them. So visibility is like rule number one. And every business I've ever launched, any business I've ever helped another CEO launch, and we're talking like, we're in the 300s.
340 or something last I was counting your numbers.
It's crazy, but, and people are like, did you launch all of those by yourself? I'm like, no, I was guiding all of these business owners to launch successfully every single one of these businesses. And it came down to like two principles. One, you got to tell everybody about you. So what does your marketing plan look like? What does your promotional plan look like, you know, on your book tour? You've got all of these different things lined up to tell everybody that, hey, I wrote a book. Hey, I climbed some summits. Hey, you got to get out there and tell everybody.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is stop burning bridges. I tell everyone, build long-lasting relationships. Stop having transactional conversations with people. My conversation, the one that started with you months ago, I think it was over a year ago, was to get to know you, to understand you, to see where I could align with you. Is there something I could offer you an opportunity for, connect you with another person? I just love to meet people. So my networking is like dinner parties. You're not asking someone, hey, what do you do while you're like hanging out, eating? You're like, where do you live? Do you have a family? What are your hobbies? We get to learn about each other and then see where their common ground is for a conversation. And I see too many entrepreneurs, they're not stepping in the spotlight. They just want to spray and pray, I call it. Spray it out on social media, spray it out on an email, and then pray that somebody clicks on a button and does something with me. But I have found that the more that you serve other people, and the more that you get out there, and the more that people see you in service of others, they just immediately are attracted to you, which is what the book is about. Like, how do we attract the right clients, not any client, the right people into our sphere that want to be there, that are looking for someone like us. So I don't go fishing anymore. I'm not out there with my pole every day just trying to figure it out. I'm shining my light, and then people are contacting me because they want to learn more about what I do, or they're interested in something I have to offer, or a conference I may be putting on, or being a guest on my podcast.
No, I think that's so important. When you network, the buzzword is your network is your net worth. But I'm so sick of that comment right now.
It's the most sought after talk I give that companies hire me for.
I believe it.
I feel like we're spending millions of dollars to send of our employees out there to network, and they're getting nowhere with it because no one knows how to really network and follow through.
So how you network is you get to know the other human and genuinely care about them. And then you think about who they are, and it doesn't mean you have to help them that moment, but you keep them in your Rolodex of thoughts so that when something else comes up, you can reach out to them.
Yeah. There was a lady that I was keeping in my peripheral back in corporate days. I was responsible for procurement and bringing in companies to work with a lot of the business owners. I wore a lot of hats back then. I was just really good at building relationships. She had a hip replacement, and I found out she was in the hospital. I sent her a little gift, a blanket with a bunch of uplifting sayings on it and a book. Because of that, she wanted to become a client. I had known her for 2 years, and I just wanted to show her like, hey, someone out there cares about you. And I really did care about her. And I thought, if that was me, I would want someone to reach out and care about me. You know, that was a $45 gift, but it was the thought and the card and that she was able to have that during her healing process. She was blown away by that. You know, something small, like sending a card. I send cards all the time to people.
Really?
I think that's a lost art. I spend a lot of time with cards because I think it's important. And when people get them, I always get text messages or an email that says, thanks for that card. I just opened up your card. That was really sweet. Or they'll take a picture of the card and send it to me. So I know, what if you were to turn the hat around and be your own client, your own customer? What would you want to feel like and how would you want to be treated? So that's kind of my third rule, is like do unto people as you'd want them to do unto you. And if you live by those 3 principles your entire life, it's gravy.
Okay, repeat those 3 principles for us.
First one, tell everybody about you if no one knows you exist.
Yep.
The second one is you've got to build long-lasting, genuine relationships with people. And then the third one was going above and beyond, treating people the way they deserve to be treated. Those have been the people in my life that are winners, that are still in my, sphere. And I think when we treat people the way we want to be treated, it makes a huge difference. I can sense transactional conversations with people, and I don't jive with that at all. I just want to have a conversation with someone and we're not sure where. Sometimes I'll get messages from people on LinkedIn that are like, I'm a first-degree black belt as well. What are you a first-degree black belt in? It's nice to meet a fellow first-degree black belt because there's like 3% of us in the world,
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, where did you get yours? What year did you compete? We have something in common to talk about. And that might be the only thing we connect on, but it's still something that we connected on. And no one forgets that.
And that's part of owning who we are.
Sure.
And sharing who we are with people and saying, this is who I am, because different people are going to get sticky with you in different aspects of your life. This conversation is reminding me of a podcast I recorded a few weeks ago. And it was a friend of mine who talked about being very clear on your values. And when you know your values and you live by those, it's going to show up. With what you had said, my first one is A. So telling the truth and being as authentic, not just in relationships, but with yourself, right? Am I living my truth or am I going offside of that? And the second one was know your resources and treasure them. Do the people in your community know that they're a resource for you, that you treasure them? And how are you showing that? For you, it's cards. It can be a text message. It can be a meme you send them. It can be whatever, but just doing those little touches that don't have I'm doing this so that you'll do that, right? And then my third value, which people will be like, of course it is believe in things others say can't be done. That's been my theme my whole life. Tell me I can't do it. It'll give me fuel to make it happen. And then my fourth one has been personal growth. For me, when I'm looking at decisions or relationships or groups, being able to come back to those 4 values keeps me consistent. Yeah. So the lighthouse piece, and then allows other people to latch on if I'm a fit.
I had a boss tell me one time when I was talking to him about sales and commission. I said I would do it 100% commission if you'd let me. And he's like, no, you wouldn't. I'm like, no, I would. Tomorrow you could cut my pay to 100% commission, but I don't want a cap. So I can make as much money as in commission that I want to make in this job. And he was like, no way. And I thought, okay, well, then I went out and I was like, well, I'm just going to prove that I can do it. Any entrepreneur out there, by the way, you're in sales. You just bought something or created something that's 100% commission. A lot of entrepreneurs will say, I hate sales. I love sales because all it is connecting with people. And I've met so many individuals in corporate America. Their only job is to go out and connect with people. They're like, I love my life.
Yes.
That's all I do. I love my life too, because that's all I do in my businesses. And it's important for us to put strategically, just like you've done, all the other people in place that do the things that you don't like to do. You're interviewing on your podcast, but you're not doing all the behind the scenes on your podcast, right? You've got a team of people that make that look great because that's their expertise. Don't be afraid to move into the people that are the experts that can help you grow your business. I mean, you could eventually get to a place where you might have a salesperson, but most of the time, organically, the person that starts the business is the CEO, but they're the salesperson. And they need to find a team that can run the rest of the business while they continue to do what they do best in sales, because they're the ones that believe in it so much.
Yeah. And it's so important to believe in it because the people you bring on, it's like a carbon copy, right? So it's at least one layer removed of your excitement. As the CEO, as the forerunner of the company, know that the team you're going to recruit are going to be excited and helpful, but they're never going to be you. And I think that was one of my big lessons of being an entrepreneur. I'm like, well, why don't they want to be as excited as I am? It's my business, my vision, but that doesn't mean you don't need their help.
So how do you enroll them in that vision? It's like enrolling children, you've got 7, into doing their homework, enrolling children into doing their chores, enrolling them into brushing their teeth before you go to bed. And it's not bribery, but you're enrolling them in it for a lot of reasons. I think enrolling our team into things and knowing that this person over here loves technology. So all the technology pieces in your business, they're excited about, they love to dive into it. And you're like, that is the last thing that I want to touch, but they're excited about that. So it might not even be the big vision. It just might be how they participate in the bigger vision and what they bring to the table that other staff or other team members don't bring to the table. And I think that's what kept me energized in corporate America for so long until the end, when I had done a lot of personal development and really discovered more about myself. That was that whole like, something's not feeling right. Relationships aren't feeling right. I'm not feeling like I'm being my authentic self because something inside of me is saying like, those labels do not work anymore for me. I literally had a CEO sit me down and say, you're not a leader. And I felt like I got punched in the gut. I thought, whoa, why am I leading in my church? And why am I a leader on the board of my community? And why do all these other people see me as a leader? I'm holding all these positions as a leader outside of my job. And then I understood when I was taught this, because we don't know what we don't know, that when someone projects something on you like that,
that's them,
it's really about them, not you. But I used to take all of that on when someone would tell me that, and it felt awful. And so I carried that around for a long time until Simon Sinek was the very first personal development book I opened. Even just from that book, my mind was just blown. I never thought about thinking like this before, and that changed my whole world. And then it just went on to thousands of books. I still go back and read Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, I do
single year.
I love that book.
Every single year. I've created my own masterminds because of it. I attend masterminds. I love getting ideas from other people and having them analyze something that I'm having an issue with, because we don't know everything. You talked about climbing and when you first started, and you had to get all of the resources of so many people around you to assist you in your team because you had to learn. Yeah, we can go climb South Mountain or Superstition Mountain or Camelback, but what you were doing was a whole different level.
Yeah, and I think that's important to highlight when we decide to take on something that is beyond our capabilities. You just find the person to help. It's not a no. It's then adjusting who you're spending time with or who you're reaching out to be able to put it into your realm. When I decided to climb Mount Everest, my mom was not my first phone call. So my first phone call was somebody that climbed Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And then I started meeting other people that climbed Mount Everest. So it all sort of normalized climbing Mount Everest. By the time I called my mom to tell her, my energy around it was entirely different too. It wasn't like, hey, I'm thinking of climbing Everest. It's like, hey, I'm climbing Everest. Here's what we're doing. Here's what's going on. Here's how it is. Get on board. She didn't have space to not be supportive.
Because you had done your homework to that point, right? And you helped her feel super calm around it because you feel calm around it. People pick up on our energy. I was thinking about that today on the way over here. If you are feeling this energy of lack, or feeling like you can't do something, or feeling like you failed, when our energy drops, we attract people, places, things, and events to wherever we're vibrating, because we're an energy being. Whatever you guys believe, we are energy, fully energy. So when our energy shifts and changes, it affects our mood, it affects everything. And then it also affects who you attract. It's why people that have this attitude of everything happens to me and I have the worst luck just keep attracting all the bad stuff. And that's what happens because that's where they're vibrating at. So it's like, it's the rule, but you must attract, right, to where you are. But what if you surrounded yourself with people at high vibration? So you surrounded yourself with people that had so much of an outlook of climbing Mount Everest. They've done it. They know people that have done it. They are excited about it. So then your energy goes up and you start attracting more and more people. By the time you were talking to your mom about it, she didn't have space to feel any differently because that was your vibe around it. If we are in a place every single day, and I'm living proof of this, there's nothing special about me that I did different than anybody else. It was my vibe around knowing I could do it. When someone said you couldn't, when someone said you couldn't do 100% commission, watch me.
Yeah.
When someone said you're not a leader, watch me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Right.
the definition of a leader is people are following them.
Right.
I just think change your attitude. Instead of looking for something on the outside to change, that whole inside is what we need to change first. Change your attitude and start attracting all of the opportunities and the people with that high vibe. That's what really works for me. And then I'm just humbled and honored to be around amazing people like you and some of the leaders in NAWBO and all of these other organizations. I'm just humbled to be around them because I'm like, wow, you guys are doing amazing things. And they're like, you're doing amazing things. I'm like, we are all doing amazing things. Hanging out with those people that fuel your success really help when we're hanging out with people that are just kind of takers and sucking that all from us. We get exhausted very quickly. If you're around everyone that's telling you why you can't climb,
It's going to become your reality.
it's really going to be tough.
Yeah.
I always feel like in reality shows, my husband and I always bet on okay, this person's going to make it to the end right in the very beginning. The person that says I visualized winning, I'm like, that's my person.
When you go to Everest, I was talking to the Sherpas. And the Sherpas are who live in Nepal and help people climb. They bet on when they pick you up from the airport on who's going to make it and who's not. And they are like, my guy is like, listen, I am 95% correct every single time. And that's because it's how you show up. It's the energy you have. It's what you bring to the table. And once you're familiar enough with the thing, you can spot it so much quicker and so much easier. For you personally, when you start getting into a low vibration state, what are you doing? How do you become aware of it? And what are you doing to change that momentum?
I can feel it in my body immediately.
Okay.
I'm kind of lethargic. Maybe I'm off that day. I feel off. Things aren't aligning and I'm starting to push and pull. Then I step back and I'm like, this is not right. Oh, when I am just flowing with things and allowing the plan to unfold, it's way easier. When I feel like I'm having to push or pull up against something, I step back and I'm like, what do I need? Do I need to step away from this project? Do I need to give it a break for a minute? Do I need to go meditate? Do I need to go work out? That always makes me feel better, having a good workout session, because you can get a lot of frustration out with weights. I guess I need to step back. I'll read. I don't read any fiction books. Everything I read is nonfiction. It's all self-help books or business books or something that's going to give me a little bit of advice or knowledge or a practice to do. So I have tools in my toolbox for practices. If you start your day like I do, I have this morning routine every single day. My alarm goes off at 5:15 and I get up and I go into my office and I sit under a blanket and read books for 30 minutes. Then I do my workout routine, and there's this same workout personal trainer that I use on my mirror every single time. Her name's Hollis. Everyone knows who she is if they're on the mirror. And she is like a bodybuilder, and she is who I want to look like. So I always work out with her.
Thank you, Hollis.
Right, because she looks amazing. That's the person I want to teach me. I work out with her every morning. I get showered, I get ready, I have my protein drink. I eat the same breakfast every day. I have protein pancakes, have blueberries in them, and a little egg cup. So I am very routine.
Okay.
When I set up my day like that, I feel strong. I have meditated, because right when I sit down, I meditate for the first 5 minutes. That is a muscle I'm still working on.
Meditation's a muscle for me too. I'm better if I get triggered, I'll go take a walk around my block and then come back. Because if I just sit, somehow it doesn't move. And I read somewhere emotions need emotion. And I'm like, oh, it's been so helpful for me. When I get emotions that are overwhelming, I move them.
Yeah.
Then I start feeling a lot better, and then I can
Yeah.
proceed on whatever I'm doing.
I do that with yin yoga when I'm feeling like stuck in my workout or my muscles hurt or I don't feel like lifting. I'll go straight to yin yoga because I feel like something's blocked and I need to move the energy. Yin yoga moves energy in my body and helps me feel flexible, right? So I think that it does a lot
Yeah.
for us on both sides of that. So, but yeah, I think starting with that routine, it's rarely that I'm ever feeling super off because I'm setting myself up for success every day by doing the things that pour into me first so that I can pour into others for the whole rest of the day. Because when you're a business coach like I am, you're constantly giving advice. You're constantly training. I'm speaking to corporations, I'm giving advice all the time. If you're not pouring from a full cup, you're just empty all the time. I don't know how you can continue staying at that high vibe without that morning routine. I just find it easier to get it over with in the morning and have that fuel so that I'm fueled for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I have to do mine at night. I can't
used
do morning routine. I think your kids are a different age than mine.
My baby's like 26 years old. He's
Right.
an engineer and doesn't live with us. Like,
Yeah. So I have the teens right now. And so for me, I can get my nighttime routine, but in the morning, I have so many humans. I'm getting up and going and whatever, and they stay up late. So I'm up a little bit later than normal.
to me, because when my kids were that age and they were home, all of our activities were at night, or I would go to the gym during the afternoon during work, and I would have my workout times and I would have my protein shake. And I think that you can be very flexible for that. What works for me now with having 4, now looking at 5 businesses, I need to get that out of the way in the beginning of the day.
Otherwise it won't happen.
So that I can really plug in. I plug into the businesses and then I unplug at a certain time so then I can be with grandkids and the rest of the family at night, because every single night there's someone needing us to babysit or watch the kids. I feel like every night this whole week I've been laying down with a 5-year-old in a different house to go to sleep, which is like, isn't that why we're doing this? You know, life is really about those beautiful moments. It's not about working hard. It's really about being smart with our time, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be how many businesses we build. It's going to be the legacy we created for our children. What did we teach them? Were we there?
And how did they feel? Did they feel seen?
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot of times I'm always checking in on how I feel. So I know what activities are filling and what activities are draining. I have a list of activities that, okay, I'm not feeling full. Here's things that have worked for me in the past. Let's plug them in right now. I love giving speeches. It's one of my favorite things to do. I am not at the stamina where I could do them back to back. I know that if I want to give it my all, I'm going to need a day to recover and refill that cup, because I love laying it all out on the stage.
I love being on stage and speaking at other companies, but you know what I also love equally, if not more, is providing a stage for other people. I have to say that is just who I am as a person, and I believe that God really created me to be that beacon, that light, and to support others as well.
Well, that's like this book.
Yeah.
Right? What did you learn about writing this book?
Where I was hiding.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, it was where I was hiding, where I was afraid to show up, where it was easy to coach a client on showing up, but then why was I not doing it as often as I should? We become our own teachers for a while, I would say, but you know, my heart and my soul is like full at this point for all that I've been able to, platforms I've been able to provide. When I got the prompting a couple of years ago to create the Empower and Elevate conferences local here for women business owners, I did it based on one thing. I was meeting amazing women that were strong business owners. They didn't know a lot of other women. I was trying to connect them feverishly, and I was like, this is taking way too much time. How do I get this done faster? And I was like, what if I just created a day where they all got to come in and there were networking roundtables and we had speakers and panels. They could be on the panel, have a platform, get a vendor table, or just come and meet other women. And I started creating them, and they just grew and grew. We've got 200 women walking in the room now, and it's their favorite thing to do twice a year to these conferences. It wasn't created off of how can I step in this spotlight and it all be about me. It was, how do I create this platform for all of these people to step into the spotlight. There's this whole volume 2 to it, where they step into the spotlight for their businesses to be seen, rule number 1. Then they build long-lasting relationships, and then they're going to be serving each other, right? So we cover all 3 of those principles in this one conference. By supporting others, I've gotten so much business from it.
Of course.
Just being in the background, coordinating it, and putting it all together for them. So I think that's kind of like volume 2 and that version of, you know, you don't necessarily have to be on center stage every second. It's like Donnie and Marie. They both shined, and they each had their own different ways to shine. I just totally dated myself.
It's all right. We love you anyways. I'm like, Donnie and Marie, I'm going to roll with this. It sounds appropriate. We're good. A key point in what you're saying is you start on a path. Then as you start on this path that pulled you in, you start recognizing struggle or complications or things that aren't working. Yeah. And then you look at ways to solve, and that brings you to evolution too. Like if I think of my mountaineering experiences, I was climbing a mountain for my 40th birthday. My son challenged it to Mount Everest, so it changed into that goal. And then my coach challenged it to a Guinness World Record. It wasn't I started with a Guinness World Record. I started with something else, and then it evolved into these different things. So when we lean into something that we're curious about, it's very rare that that's the end of the road. That's normally the, okay, now this and now that. Now that these conferences are up and running, where do you see yourself taking that?
You know, my husband and I have gotten so many more opportunities with businesses coming our way. And I think what happens is people notice like, hey, they're really good at growing businesses, or they've been successful because they hear it on social media or from someone else. Oh, yeah, did you know Colleen and her husband own 5 businesses? And people are like, no, I didn't know that. I thought she only owned the community or does the conferences or does business coaching. And that's just kind of happened along the way. And in this evolution now for us, other people are wanting to invest in us to be able to grow these other businesses or invest in other businesses because they trust us. As a leader, I think that you naturally grow, and I would call myself a servant leader. We have to love and respect other people and really serve them and influence their lives before we can expect anyone to respect us as a leader and earn that badge. We're kind of taking it day by day. Yeah. We're just franchising his drone business that'll be 10 years old next year. And we've done it by demand. We've had so many people contact us and say, will you teach me how to grow a drone business? And we can either create a whole bunch of competitors locally, or we can scale it nationally and give all these drone pilots, or maybe someone working a 9-to-5, they would love to have time with their family to be able to go do something that's so easy to build and provide a wonderful life and not have a cap on their salary. This is a great way for someone to own a business for a low buy-in. And my heart just goes into that space, because how do I provide someone the American dream for them to be able to do it? And I know how to do it because it's duplicatable. We've already done it. You can just repeat how we've done it. And I just love easy, simple solutions like that. Like, why does everything have to be hard? It doesn't. It doesn't. It can be simple. And I bet you learned that along the way, too. Why am I
making this hard? That's my cue to slow down, reevaluate everything, and find the easy button. Yeah. Because it has to be there, right? When this business is 10 years old, that overnight success was really 10 years that you didn't see happening. So it's 10 years in the making. You just caught on to the 10th year, which becomes the overnight success. And I love how you had this history in franchising, right? So you were exposed to it, you saw the beauty of it. You saw it blow up when times went hard. That's not knowledge lost. That's knowledge that now you're able to tap into and be like, hey, how do we use this experience to help this experience? And so those of you that are listening and you're in a rut or you're stuck or you're just not sure, like I think sometimes you're putting so much pressure on yourself for it to be something instead of allowing it to just be what it is and letting time turn it into something.
Have you ever heard the phrase, like, you are where you're supposed to be right now?
Yeah.
And so many people think, well, I need to be further along than that. What tells you need to be further along than that? Comparison to other people, comparison to other things. And I think that is caused a lot of mental health issues that we have in the world right now, especially because social media has made it so easy for people to exploit their lives out there. You are supposed to be where you are right now. And when you get in a rut, you can breathe that in and feel like, okay, I am where I am supposed to be. Feel like I need to be further ahead. Why do I?
What kind of pressure am I putting on myself?
When I don't need to. That's where all the injuries come into effect and all the things happen. And that's when the failures happen in business. I don't think overnight success is, most of the time it doesn't last. We see a lot of one-hit wonders with someone that has a hit song, but they don't know how to do it again. I would rather be consistent for a long period of time. I'm amazed that I've been doing this for 6 years. All the statistics tell me I should have failed by now, and I haven't.
Right.
But that wasn't even on the radar. Like, it wasn't on the menu. So if it wasn't on the menu, then I'm not ordering it. That just wasn't an option. Things have not worked out.
Even if I think of my pursuit, like I had to climb 2 of the mountains twice. It wasn't like every single time I went to the mountain, it was straight up the hill. But it was never a concept of I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I don't care if I don't get it done. I'm going to try it and see what happens, and I'm going to figure it out. But it was never like, are you going to stop? I remember being like failing one of the mountains. They're like, well, are you done? I was like, what? I don't even know what you're asking me right now. Am I done? Yeah, I'm done this year because the mountain closed and I'm not allowed to climb it until it's safe to climb again and it's not the climbing season. Like, oh, you're going to go back? I'm like, yeah. Never was not going back.
You don't get this far. In our minds, we're like, of course, there's just no other option. It was like getting my black belt. I didn't pass every single test. Right. A lot of them I had to do twice, and we're not talking easy tests that you have to do twice. You've got to plan it and do it all over again 5 weeks later or 10 weeks later. It took me 2.5 years to get my black belt, and I never got district champion throughout my entire 2.5 to 3 years to get that black belt. I was state champ, and I would place first in a lot. I just realized what I'm really good at and the things that weren't my skill sets. I think we need to learn that in life too. What are the things you're really hungry for that feel natural, that are easy, that you love to do? And what are the things that you're just smacking your head up against the wall on? I hire people for those. And then I really do the things I love to do. I love sales. I love marketing. I think when we tell ourselves we can't or we won't, it's an excuse. You can. You just don't even want to try and find a way. I want to hang out with people and be surrounded by knowledge in books, podcasts, TV shows, anyone I might be following on social media, with people that are inspiring me. So I just, don't have in my feed or kick them off.
Yeah.
If there's anyone that, are Debbie Downers or have these, really strong opinions that feel like they're kind of abrasive toward me, I just have no interest in that. We get to surround ourselves with the people, things, and the knowledge. So, start today.
All the things you're consuming are affecting you. Yeah. It's not only the food, it's what you're listening to, it's who you're talking to. All those pieces are input that your body now has to metabolize. If it's not feeling good, check those inputs.
Yeah. Sound advice. Yeah. Thanks for that.
I love you. This is so fun. So if somebody's listening today and they are stuck.
I hope there's at least one somebody listening today.
That one somebody.
Yes. For you.
If somebody is listening today and they're stuck, what are some tips that you're going to give them to get out of stuck so that they can call you and keep moving forward?
I think the number one tool we could ever use is to get one piece of paper out and draw a line down the middle for whatever the problem is that you're stuck on. What can you control and what can't you control about that, right? So what's in your control and what's not in your control, why worry about it? Let it go. Like, you can't do anything about it anyway, so let it go. But what is in your control, and once you start writing down the things that are in your control, you usually immediately start coming up with a plan on what I can do for these things that are in my control. If you don't know what to do, the first thing you need to do is reach out and start asking. You could even post on Facebook, hey, I have a quick question. Looking for an answer on XYZ, and you're going to find out who all your followers are and all the people that love sharing their advice, right? I love to talk to people that have a simple issue that they think is super hard. No way it can be solved. And it's like, would you like to hear my perspective on that? They're like, yes. And then I give them the perspective and they're like, I never thought about that. I'm like, we generally don't. Because we're in this little
We're in our
frame,
bubble.
right? So, yeah, I mean, I would tell them to go to ColleenBiggs.net. The very first top of my website, you can click and schedule a 30-minute call with me. There's so much that's out there. I have a podcast that you could listen to so many different episodes or consume my book or, you know, there's so many modalities that are resources out there. And if you just Google my name, you're just going to get a full resume of all the areas that will probably be able to assist you without even having a conversation, because some people just aren't quite ready to have that conversation because there's fear and shame around not knowing the answer. And I've had that. I was afraid to reach out to someone because I would feel stupid. You ever had anyone say, I know this is a stupid question, but there are no stupid questions because we've all got questions and not all of us have answers, but we can get them from other people. So keep seeking that knowledge in anything you're looking for.
I like how you're saying write down the things. What I have found is if I write it down and then it wants to show up again, I'm like, well, you've already been counted. A lot of times it's the same thing that shows up and shows up. But when I write it down, I realize, oh, it's not as big as I made it in my head. It's this one statement that showed up 7 different ways, but really it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like writing things down has given me so much permission to move forward.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have acknowledged you. I'm still going to do this thing. Here's the people that are helping me. You're not.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the thoughts that are helping me. This is the thought that isn't.
I think as we work on ourselves through this, and I think you've gotten there over time too, is you weren't convicted that you could do what you did. Right. But over time, as you got more proof it was possible, right? And more people you talked to, and after you climbed your first summit or second, you're like, I could do this again. And we create conviction for ourselves. No one can do that for us. Right? It does take other people, but no one can convict it for you. You have to believe in it. So, I mean, that's something to remember too, that we have to do that for ourselves. If we do the inner work, our outer environment changes for the better.
That's been a theme today, friends. Inner equals outer. If something's triggering you in the outer world, check your inner world to see what's going on and see what you can learn.
Great advice, Jen.
Oh, yeah. I think I stole it from a good friend of mine named Colleen.
You can have it.
Thank you.
Letting you take it.
Well, thank you so much today for joining us and sharing your bits of wisdom and helping us through those harder moments.
You're an inspiration to me. You really are. And I know you're an inspiration to so many others. I jump up and down every time I see you on TV or doing something awesome. I think we all need to become champions of each other, especially women championing each other, because we've got a long road to go and we're in every industry before we came along. I know that we want to be able to have a strong presence, and the more that women do the things that you're doing or
we normalize
it just becomes like the next thing and it's easy. But you're an inspiration to me, so thanks.
Well, thank you.